Ever wonder how to create a successful B2B podcast? You know, one that actually acquires and retains a substantial following? And once you have it, how do you keep it real-time and relevant so it's always speaking to your audience? Podcast Pointers is where you'll get the ins and outs of creating a successful B2B podcast and a plethora of tools you need to help make it manageable. I'm Greg Myers, and as the host of the Leaders in Payments podcast and founder of Podcast 609, I've already navigated through all the what-ifs and if-thens of podcasting. My goal now is to share them with you so you can benefit from my experience. So let's get started. Welcome to episode 0, or the Kickoff episode for Podcast Pointers, brought to you by Podcast 609. In this episode, I'm going to quickly cover 3 items. 1, a little background about me. 2, about the company, Podcast 609. And finally, 3, about what you can expect from our show, Podcast Pointers. First, a little about my background. I have a marketing degree from Auburn University. I've been in B2B marketing my entire career. I've also been in the payments industry for almost 20 years. I started at Chase Payment Tech, the payments division of JP Morgan Chase, and was there for about 8 years and then spent 2 years at First Data, which of course is now part of Fiserv. I then went out on my own doing strategic marketing consulting in the PayFac space, as well as in the fraud space and other segments of the payments industry. In January of 2020, I launched the Leaders in Payments podcast, where I interview CEOs and founders of payments and fintech companies. We've done nearly 300 episodes so far. We also do 3 special months throughout the year, 1 on diversity, equity, and inclusion, 1 on women leaders in payments, and 1 on financial inclusion. We also have sponsorship opportunities where you can leverage the audience and platform we've built. You can find these opportunities in all of our episodes at theleadersinpayments.com or anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, and about 25 other podcast directories. A few years ago, I leveraged this experience to launch a company called Podcast 609. It helps other companies launch, manage, and market their own podcast. We focus exclusively on financial services, payments, and fintechs. We do everything from creating the strategy, setting up the podcast, launching it, producing each episode, to marketing each episode by providing the social media assets and content our clients need. And of course, we provide monthly analytics so you know how well your show is doing. We developed this turnkey solution for marketing departments with limited resources, or for those that don't have the knowledge to launch their own podcast. Our goal is to take all of the heavy lifting off your plate. We produce podcasts for some of the most well-known brands in the payment space. You can learn more by visiting podcast609.com. This podcast, Podcast Pointers, is designed to help B2B marketers with their podcasting, from strategy to marketing. On each episode, we're going to pick just one topic, and I'm going to talk about it for a few minutes. So they're really meant to be quick hitters. You'll hear me talk about authenticity, consistency, quality, podcast formats, analytics, and much more. We'll be launching 2 episodes per month, and they are available on our website as well as anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and more. For more information or to reach me directly, you can email me at greg@podcast609.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you found the information helpful. I look forward to seeing you here back again for our next episode. And as always, feel free to check out our website for more information. The team here at Podcast 609 is always here to address and support any of your podcasting needs. And we can be found at podcast609.com. And until the next episode.